May I come in, sir?
Yeah, please come.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good morning,
sir.
Harsh. Please sit down.
Sorry, sir. Thank you.
We'll still wait for a couple of minutes for good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Yes? Good, good. Take 2 minutes and introduce yourself, Harsh.
Yes, sir. My name is HARSH PARASHAR. I am from the small town of Katihar, Bihar. My father is a professor of Hindi literature and my mother is a caring homemaker. I did my schooling from my hometown and I pursued electronics and communication engineering at IIT Kharagpur. Thereafter, I worked for 4 years as a data scientist in consulting firms like Deloitte and McKinsey. And in 2021, I got selected as IRS Customs and Indirect Taxes Officer.
Very nice. Start.
Yes, Harsh. The name itself is Harsh.
Yes, sir.
Tell me 3 reasons to smile today for you. You have 3 strong reasons to smile today.
So first will be because I am sitting here giving an interview for the second time.
It may be reason to cry also.
So hopefully not.
Oh, very nice. You have a strong positive attitude. I'm happy. Nothing required. Second thing I would like to ask you, you are already in customs.
Yes, sir.
Fine. You are revenue generator. These are the services which is asset for the country. And IPS officer, IAS officers, these are liability. They are revenue consumers. You are revenue generator even then you want to shift to revenue consumer. Why so?
Sir, I believe that we are not revenue generators. We are merely collecting revenue from people who are generating the revenue. And IS, IPS and IFS officers and all other civil services for that matter, they are not only utilizing this revenue for their own personal self. They're utilizing it for the benefit of those people who have given this revenue and believe that this revenue will be utilized in a better manner for everybody. So I don't think that in that regard,
Very
that's
nice
right.
you are. So humble in spite of generating this much of revenue. But yes, fine, I agree. I tell you one thing, India before 1991 had custom duty around 300%.
That's correct.
It was closed economy. But Narasimha Rao, along with the starting economic reforms, he gradually cut down and today on an average custom duty is around
So 15 to 20%.
15-20%. Custom duty is like wall of economy. It's like putting burqa over economy, higher custom duty, putting down burqa, that is lower custom duty. With reference to this statement, you explain the advantages and disadvantages, just one point. One advantage of reducing custom duty and one disadvantage of reducing custom duty.
So I think the biggest advantage of reducing the custom duty is we become more closely integrated with the whole economy of the world. So that's part of the globalization reforms and India needs to do that for its own ease of doing business and promotion of economy. One disadvantage of reducing the economic wall, as you say, is for those vulnerable sectors, especially small exporters, MSME and agricultural exports, that becomes less competitive within the Indian market itself.
Very nice, but yes, I would say reducing custom duty simply doesn't work unless you have very skilled workers, because otherwise country evolves as market.
Yes, sir.
Majority of the exporters who don't prefer to shift their industry, they prefer to sell their products in your market. So ultimately we have become market. Like China, see, China pumped even Ganpati Lakshmi also imported from China. Right now situation is slightly different. But yes, it is that way. Now, last question I would like to ask you, because you have addressed this issue that smaller enterprises, they are struggling hard to survive.
Yes, sir.
Marx had said, history of all struggle is history of class struggle. You are a student of sociology now.
Yes, sir.
You explain with reference to this struggle.
Sir, I think what Marx said in that reference that if inequality in society increases, which he said that capitalism inherently has that tendency, that would lead to class struggles between the upper class, the bourgeois, and the proletariats. Now, in particular reference to economy
Simply
and
to save time, I would like to address one more issue.
yes, sir.
40% of the asset of the country is held by 1% people. You must have read it.
Yes, sir. Slightly different numbers, but yes.
Maybe.
Yes, sir.
40, 45
Yes, sir.
or 35. But even then, it's a struggle. Really, it is very relevant today that we are struggling hard to get economic equality. In that reference, how can it be सबका साथ, सबका विकास? ये कहाँ से हो सकता है? The 40%, 1% people are holding. How can it be सबका विकास?
Sir, a lot of the inequality that has come is mostly because of the policies that were taken right after independence. But I believe that in recent years, a large number of steps have been taken to ensure that equality also gets promoted. Even in
Narendra
this,
Modi as Prime Minister addressing, Nehru as Prime Minister did not address, created all sorts of inequality. What I am able to interpret.
sir, not in terms of who led the economy, but I would say after 1991, the policy has greatly changed.
Okay.
And that too, even.
Thank you. Very
Thank you,
nice.
sir.
Harsh, now tell me, once the budget was placed in the parliament, the government said that they want to reach the last mile in the
Yes, sir.
governance. What do they mean by it, and what measures are being taken by the government to fulfill this?
Sir, it is one of the saptarishis that have been laid out in this budget, reaching the last mile. What it means is that many of the government benefits that were many of the government schemes that are being run, they have not saturated to the level where they would reach each and every nook and corner of the country. So they usually reach up to a certain level, say 95%, and then they saturate here. So those who are at the very bottom are not able to benefit. One example is the PM Awas Yojana. And in this budget, 66% increment has been done to make sure that we reach the very last mile, the last person who has not received the benefit but should have been.
Ajay, what do you understand by SDG, and where does your state Bihar stands in this?
Sir, SDG are Sustainable Development Goals. These are goals which have been accepted by the United Nations Assembly to be achieved by 2030. And these are mostly related to socio-economic indicators.
Yes.
And my home state is Bihar, and Bihar states among 28 states and 8 union territories, Bihar stands at the 36th number on SDGs.
Okay,
So,
what would be your
unfortunately-
proposal to change this scenario in respect of SDG India Index?
Sir, I think the SDGs are numbered from 1 to 17, but I believe that for Bihar, what is most important is that we focus on increasing the allied sectors of economy, of agricultural economy. For example, Bihar produces roughly 80% of makhana that is produced all over the world. Makhana is foxnuts. But we are not able to market and produce it in a way that it could have been. So, and similarly for other goods as well, agricultural goods as well. If this happens, that would lead to economic growth, and Bihar, being a capital deficit state, would be able to then invest that into socio-economic indicators. So I think first strategy would be for economic growth, followed by that investment into social sector.
Ajay, now my last question. Tell me about the two kind of system. One is parliamentary kind of governance, and second is presidential form of government.
Yes, sir.
Tell me the differences and which form of government is suitable for India.
Sir, parliamentary form of government is based on the Westminster model, where Parliament, as legislators, they have the executive is derived from them. In presidential form of government, the executive is not derived from the Parliament or legislature, but is independent, like in USA. There are many other differences, like it is called government by amateurs. In the presidential system is called government by experts. And there are other differences too. In India's context, the most relevant and the reason why we adopted parliamentary system was because first we had experience with it. Even under British rule, we had experience of the Government of India Acts and the different ways it would work. Second benefit is that we did not, in the new democracies, it was feared that if a set of people who have not been directly elected by people, if they get the power, then it would lead to a sort of dictatorial system, because India would not have been a mature democracy. So in that regard, this experiment was also successful.
So now, in your opinion, does it require any kind of rethought? Because
No, sir,
now you said that now the country has matured after 75 years of independence.
Sir, maturity of democracy would be in other factors as well. Like USA was believed to be a very mature democracy, but even that saw Capitol Hill, the disturbances that happened. So I think in India the system has been working pretty well. One reason why there has been a push that we adopt more presidential system is because government has to become more technical, led to be more by technocrats.
Okay.
But I believe that having the existing system working pretty well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, your tab says that you have taken interest in coding.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, first thing, LED is very universal now. LED light is
Yes,
very
sir.
universal. Why coding is required in LED light? And what type of coding? You got my question? If you take a LED strip, it
Yes,
is
sir.
coded, otherwise you will get a very unpleasant light. Not thinking of. I will leave it then.
Sir, I can think of one thing.
Yes.
So I have actually done this, but I do not know whether you are referring to the same thing. LED lights, they can be using codes if they are connected to the USB of the computer. It is possible to generate different sequences of light. For example, I can switch on the first, third, seventh, fifth,
Something
seventh
related
light,
to
something
that.
like this.
That you have done.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you must be aware about the color coding of electrical wire.
Yes, sir. But I'm
not
a
remembering.
bit rough
Okay,
on that.
then I will leave it. Thermal, you must very familiar terms. Plant load factor. Plant load factor. I will be discussing some of the electrical engineering only with you.
Sir,
I will not go in electrical engineering, but it's application part.
Sir, if I can add something.
Yes.
I have done my major in electronics and communication, which is very different from electrical.
Okay.
We mostly read about active devices like semiconductors. The plant load factor, I believe it's in thermal power production.
Yes.
But we did not have any course on that,
But okay, can we discuss some sort of grid control? No.
unfortunately.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Communication, you have
Yes, sir.
done the preparation. Okay. Then tell me, what are the frequency ranges in a sunlight? Different frequencies in the sunlight.
Sir, sunlight is said to be a white light, so it encompasses all
What is
wavelengths.
frequency range? Or at least you tell me where maximum energy is concentrated in the sunlight. That you should say. Tell.
Sir, I'm not sure, but it would be UV frequency range, I believe, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Then these days the real demand is the satellite communication is the need of the day.
Yes, sir.
We are investing in both. At one end we are investing in optical fiber communication, and other end we are using a lot of investment in satellite communication. How do we compare it?
Sir, I think the major difference, the first major difference is in the technology that they use. Optical fiber uses total internal reflection within the fiber itself, whereas satellite communication, it involves sending link from ground to satellite and then reflecting back.
So bandwidth, where the bandwidth, we shall get the bandwidth as our requirement.
Sir, optical fiber has obviously greater bandwidth, and this is because while sending electrical signals from ground to satellite and then getting it reflected back, a lot of energy gets wasted as well, and there is diversion of energy. So, I believe, total internal.
Okay, as we talk about Moore law, and when we talk about Moore law, we tell that doubling the transistor
Yes, sir.
number, but that purely now it looks that it has got saturation or rather exceeded. Rather, we have gone to the 100 or 200 times now more difference in the sizes of the semiconductor devices.
Yes, sir.
Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So now, what is the future now? law is failing one end. So what is the future now in the semiconductor industry?
Sir, Murray's law it's not a general law, but it was rather based on how industry was evolving at that time. But we have now reached to a level of 5 nanometer, which is the best one being manufactured in Taiwan.
So we have got the limit now. So what will next, that I'm asking you?
So that is one thing I've seen that is recently coming up is the way that we are integrating how we are using biomimicry. So there is something called memristor. Earlier transistors used to only either compute or store data.
By using the same semiconductor devices or something else type of conductor device?
Different semiconductor devices.
What is that?
So for processing.
Yes.
So there are different kind of PNP and NPN transistors. There are MOSFET transistors, FinFET transistors, field effect, FET transistors were used mostly.
Okay, no, I was mentioning about some sort of thin atom material or that concept now coming into the transistor area, or the quantum computing now entering the area to take care of the number of transistors. That I wanted to discuss with you.
Sir, I'll have to read up on this.
Okay, you know the disaster of Turkey. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So first thing is you have to establish your electronics and communication there.
Yes, sir.
So what are the steps now?
Sir, for reference to Turkey or for India?
So that situation should not happen in India.
Yes, sir.
But if that happens.
Sir, I think for communication, one advancement has been made which I recently came across, and fortunately it is IIT Kharagpur which has done. So instead of having satellite towers which provide communication to an area, for disaster prone areas what we have is a swarm of drones which form a communication channel that can help giving network signals that will help rescue
Okay,
teams.
now last question.
Yes, sir.
You are because in technology,
yes,
and just railway, we are going one way, the bullet train concept.
Yes, sir.
One way we are going to Vande Bharat train. Again, at the speed, we claim 160 or 180, but actually it works on 100 or less than 100.
Yes, sir.
What do you think is the requirement of India? As a policy maker, where you emphasize?
So between the choice of bullet trains and Vande Bharat Express, I believe that Vande Bharat Express is a make in India concept, and it will give a greater impetus to those workers or those industries which have been
Okay,
involved.
agreed, but
in
you know that you are competing China.
Yes, sir.
And China is already super bullet train. So then what do you think about that?
So the bullet train in India, the technology transfer was supposed to happen from Japan between Ahmedabad and Mumbai. But if we do not get the core technologies right, we'll have to develop it from scratch. And this has happened earlier as well.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Harsh. I saw your interest in international relations,
Yes, sir.
and there was your same name, very senior diplomat. Do you know that?
Sir, do you refer to Mr. Harshvardhan Shringla?
Harshvardhan Shringla, yes. Now, before I ask you another question, I thought I should help you, or at least clarify myself, on the question of inequality. Yes? Harsh, there are so many reports, but if you look at the most trusted database, the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, according to that, in 1961, the bottom 50% of Indians were holding 13% of the total wealth. And it remained almost constant till the early 80s. And in 2020, around that, they were holding only 6%, which means the poor became poorer 81 onwards. Yes? The top 10% of Indian rich, their wealth contribution from 61 to 2020, something like that, went up from 43 to 63%. And this share was also more or less stable till about early 80s. Now let's come to the super rich. The top 1% of the Indian rich, their share in Indian GDP went up from 12% to 32%. And you say the inequality was in the earlier years of independent India and we are trying to correct it? 80 onwards, the inequality has tremendously increased in India, but inequality has also increased world over. Inequality is a global phenomena and we are very worried. And so it is in India,
Yes, sir.
right? Saying that we are correcting the inequality over the recent years is a wrong statement. Yes?
Yes, sir.
We may be doing a lot of things for enabling the bottom to survive. But that does not automatically mean correcting inequality. You get my point?
Yes, sir.
Please pay
Absolutely.
attention to that.
Yes, sir.
And then you were talking about custom duties. With you, reducing customs or
Yes.
increasing customs. Which is the international body which is the custodian of the global rule-based economic relations?
For customs or for in
Trade.
general? World Trade Organization.
World Trade Organization. In the WTO, there are some fundamental principles governing commodity trade, which will enhance the application of rules on a fair basis. What are those principles?
Sir, there are 3 of these principles. First is national treatment, second is most favored nation, and third is fair and equitable trade.
I think you missed one, and that was the starting point. First was, if you have to defend your national economy or domestic economy, you will defend it only through tariff, which means tarification of protection.
Yes, sir.
You will not use any other method.
Yes, sir.
That's the ultimate objective, of course. In between, there was a lot of transition. First is tarification of protection. Once you do that, then it is the most favored nation.
Yes, sir.
And once you've done the most favored nation, then it is
Then
the
comes
national treatment.
national treatment. Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Yes,
You
sir.
get my point? Now, we seem to be getting tired with the working of WTO. Right? Why do we feel tired of the working of WTO? It's neither fair nor equitable nor rule-based. Where are the aching points?
Sir, I think some part of this disenchantment has come from the recent blocking of the appellate body which has been done by US. So what was believed to be a more equitable sort of rule-based governance, now the rich countries have been able to overcome that. Another factor, another aching point is also the disjunction that has not been resolved. The peace clause was put in place.
Okay, Harsh.
For agriculture.
Let me ask you a more thought-provoking
Yes,
question.
sir.
It's neither factual nor it has to be accurate because it's a theoretical question. I was reading recently with regard to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, a very bizarre kind of an argument floating. One argument said, we can apply the Korean solution to stop the ongoing war in Russian-Ukrainian conflict. But then another argument said, Kashmir solution may be a better solution. Now just tell me, how would you give me a blueprint for applying the Kashmir solution to solve Russian-Ukrainian crisis?
Sir,
Or Kashmir formula?
yes, sir. Sir, I do not exactly know what Kashmir formula would be because I do not.
What is the Kashmir formula for the time being?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
Sir, my understanding would be the way that things have been brought to a standstill in Kashmir and the ways to at least continue the negotiation and dialogue without breaking down. A part of this would be that the existing, in 1948 when Pakistan invaded and an LOC was created after the intervention of UN, and that we have continued to recognize that without trying to alter the, maybe this could have been one of the solutions that
No,
could
do
have
you
been
think
forwarded.
it's a workable solution there? No, because there are other elements of Kashmir
Yes, sir.
formula. You see, Kashmir formula, if you have to just break it down to nutshell,
Yes, sir.
what does it say? Ceasefire. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Stop fighting. Then it says there are conditions for finding a solution. Fulfill those conditions and find a solution. Right?
Yes, sir. So I think part of it would be that we would negotiate only bilaterally. We would not involve a
Exactly.
third party
That
country.
point is because that came later as
Yes,
part
sir.
of Simla Agreement,
Yes, sir.
not the original formula. The original formula is ceasefire and then laying down the conditions for finding a solution. Because that was not a solution, literally.
Yes,
He
sir.
said, all right, stop fighting. And then we're laying down the approach to solution. How will you tell this to the Russians and the Ukrainians? In a manner that they accept it. That is how a diplomat should do it.
Sir, I believe that it would not be an easy thing to do.
I know nothing is easy in
Yes, sir.
international relations. If it was easy, you think we'll have crisis?
No, sir, absolutely. Sir, I think we have to first accept that there are, like in Kashmir,
No, you apply the same one. You go say that, sir, please stop fighting. The easiest thing. You say, stop fighting. I'm not saying it's a solution, but stop fighting. Easy?
no, sir.
No. No. Their problem will be that, what next?
What next?
You say, I'm coming to next. Bhai, first thing is stop fighting. Then I'll talk and tell you what next. They might say, all right, we'll stop fighting now, tell us what next.
Sir, both the parties have said that we want to talk, but they have put conditional
you are taking a formula to them. You say, sir, there's a time-tested formula. Okay, let's see. We have not found a solution, but the thing has interim served the purpose of calming down situation. What will you tell them? Why don't you do that? We have not found a solution in 75 years.
Yes,
you
sir.
also may not find a solution in 100 years. But at least stop fighting. Yes?
Yes, sir.
All right, we stop here. Harsh, good. Your interview part is over now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Now, your own assessment. How did you perform?
Sir, I have to read up on factual, especially on electronics. And first two question sets, I was comfortable, but sir threw me off in electronics, and I was a bit nervous after that. And I think in terms of, I had a difficulty in understanding the questions completely. For example, when you were asking, I could not exactly understand what should I say next, between Ukraine and Russia. If I go and tell them, people have tried to go and tell them. India has tried to go and tell them. India has been tried to play that mediator role, but we have not been. So what exactly I go and tell them? That I could not figure out. So on the feet thinking maybe another thing.
No, I think your performance was very good. In fact, very good. I would put that in one of the top categories of performance. But just a couple of suggestions. One is, of course, your understanding of the subject. Second is that I found you where you had a prejudged mind on certain issues. Now that can hold you back. While there are something called the fundamental principles of behavior.
Yes, sir.
and nobody can question those. They are fundamental principles of behavior. And all our life, we negotiate around those principles. Because if everybody follows the fundamental principles, there will be no problem. But we don't follow. Right? Everybody violates those fundamental principles. But then we don't accept. Nobody accepts that I am violating a fundamental principle, right? Somebody has to tell them. Right? We play around those fundamental principles. These are the what is called the guard rails. आप थोड़ा मारोगे झटका उधर जाओगे फिर वापस जाना पड़ेगा आपको, फिर इधर जाओगे फिर वापस आओगे. These are guard rails, right? आप guard rails को मत डिफाई कीजिए कभी भी. फंडामेंटल इशू पे कभी आप अपने आप को डाइल्यूट मत कीजिए, लेकिन उसके अराउंड थोड़ा खेलना आना चाहिए, राइट? क्योंकि अगर ये हो जाए फिर तो आपको आपकी जरूरत ही नहीं डिप्लोमेट्स की, किसी की जरूरत नहीं, ब्यूरोक्रेट्स की भी जरूरत नहीं.
यस सर.
क्योंकि लोग बेसिक प्रिंसिपल को नहीं मानते हैं, उसको डेविएट कर जाते हैं, इसलिए यू हैव टू हैंडल दैट सिचुएशन.